We spent the last 1 year actually engaging with an outreach that was to feed into the General Assembly's discussions on the high-level event for the MDGs. And that's really been quite broad. So that's given us a resolution for member states, which has given lots of clarity to the concepts of universality and the Sustainable Development Agenda. But it's also given us a roadmap to 2015, where we will have the summit that decides the next set of goals. The consultations at national level thematically have seen a big interaction with that constituency as we have new actors and old actors together trying to define an agenda that moves from poverty to sustainable development. Theirs has been very important, the network that you have, the work that you do on the ground, that really engages with many of the emerging complexities that we have, disaster risk, the climate change. So there are aspects of it that have been really helpful to us, in addition to the usual feedback that you bring to us on the emerging challenges. At the international level, there are clearly laid out processes that the member states will take charge of, and they'll be responsible at the end. And there are many opportunities there to engage with that in the representative fashion that you have at the UN. But I think what is more important is actually seeding this at the country level, the existing partnerships that you have with government, engaging with new actors in civil society, with the parliaments who are going to have to make some really tough decisions on a broader agenda. So I would say that, in as much as we have the international face, it really is the country level. This is a 15-year agenda that's transitional. It requires a lot of effort at the country level to implement. I think that's where really we need the support in trying to help people focus and prioritize. A global agenda that needs to have impact at the country level means an awful lot of consultation right now that will give us ownership so that we can hit the ground running. I think for the first time we're not going to silo this discussion. There's a broad range of multi-stakeholders that need to be involved in an integrated agenda. Sustainable development is going to be the vehicle that we use to eradicate extreme poverty, and it's going to address exclusion. So we need an inclusive agenda, one that really deals with inequalities. It'll be an economic transformation, so the empowerment of people, the most vulnerable in our societies. How do we engage them with the economy? We know in many of our countries, middle-income countries have been growing really well, but they've been doing it without the people. And I think that this has to be put right, and so therefore that multi-stakeholder engagement is going to be important. Then the new dimensions of climate change. What in environmental issues can we sort of get a good balance of people and planet? So the different sectors within government need to be engaged with, key ones, for whether you're talking about agriculture or for food and nutrition, health, education is going to be an important part of it. But different stakeholders like parliaments, specific committees that deal with appropriations and laws. We're calling for a much stronger governance agenda. What does that mean? And all of our work revolves around having human rights at the center. But how do we get access to justice? How do we strengthen institutions? These are going to be important parts of it, and so engaging with those that have that responsibility. I think at the country level we also need to build the constituencies in civil society. Civil society that really needs to be broader based, but we also need to include young people and not just sort of consult that we've ticked the box on it. They're going to be carrying this agenda and need to be focused on it. So I think engagement with those constituencies will be important. Perhaps less so the business community, because maybe that's not where your greatest interactions are, but they are going to be a considerably important part of being held accountable, responsible business, bringing resources in to the agenda, and people are concerned about that. So I think that's really where we sit. It depends what we're speaking about. This is such a broad range of things. I think everything needs to be evidence-based. What's clear to us these days is that the quality and the adequacy of baseline data is insufficient for governments really to make the right decisions and to put competing resources to best use. I think anything that we can do to improve that, you're on the ground, and I think that's really important. The network that you have, the volunteers that would be available to give the credibility to that data. For a while, data has been collected with a political emphasis on it. Now it's much more about evidence-based, but it has been for years relying on surveys. The time lags, in really responding to what we need in the time that we have not really been available. But the Secretary General's put in quite a number of platforms that are engaging with science and academia to try to bring that a little bit stronger, I think, at the country level. It's good for government, it's good for advocacy. So, continuing to bring that to the fore. I think for a lot of us, the conversation needs to be brought down to the level of, these are the implications if we don't do what we need to do. A lot of the time we will talk about what we can't do and how difficult it is, and I think we need to bring more solutions to the table. We do know what's wrong. There's an incredible amount of knowledge and technology that enables you to share that, but putting it on the table at the right time, breaking it down and understanding that the same difficulty civil society may have in engaging in some of the academic stuff we bring up to the table, still governments have that difficulty too. So capacities to engage, we need to acknowledge that and look at the different strengths at the table and try to help that with evidence-based knowledge.